All right. Today we are here with Daniel Scott. How are you doing, Daniel?
Good. How you doing today, my guy?
I'm doing good. So let's start off where it all started. As you can see the background. So what made you want to play football? And then, what would you want to most importantly stick with football?
Sports has always been a huge part of my life. Always played any type of sport since I was young. Started playing football about the fifth grade, tackle football. We'll say I played flag probably until when I started walking, honestly. Started playing tackle, just kind of fell in love with the game. Dad played a little bit in D1 AA when he was growing up. Brother played high school football at St. Francis as well, so I just kind of grew around it, and it just made sense for me. And I learned a lot of values through it. Deal with adversity every single practice. Getting tackled or having to tackle someone. So translating that into my life has been a huge part of who I am today.
And what made you choose safety? I know at St. Francis, you're asked to play both sides of the ball. What made you kind of gravitate towards that position as you moved towards college?
Um, I just I honestly, like you said, gravitated towards it. I think, um, in high school, I played a little bit of like slot receiver, a little bit like hybrid tight end, and then safety. But I just kind of like playing in the back, kind of like making sure the defense is pretty much safe the entire time. Trying to make sure there's no risk, eliminating all risk. Plus, it's just fun, kind of being on the defensive side, like lurking against the offense, having to react to everything every single down. So, that's kind of what I got recruited as, obviously, too. So, I just kind of continued to work on it.
Do you still keep in touch with some of your former teammates?
At St. Francis,
Yeah.
yeah, they're some of my lifelong friends. So I still stay in touch with Michael Bonds, quarterback, Gabe Matthews, wide receiver, who was in my class, Matt Nixon, who's an O lineman, Jace Herrick, who's a running back, George Stolcich, who's on the Broncos now. Um, you know, as many as I can.
Yeah. And then I heard you mention Coach. I heard you mention Bonds. Obviously, Coach Bonds, may he rest in peace. What was something that he helped you with, or what kind of impact did he make on you as a player?
I think he was a huge part in my development and what helped me kind of grow that strong passion into the game and like fell in love with like having that a part of my identity basically. Um, Not only was he a teacher, he was a mentor. He taught you off the field and on the field stuff, daily. He was the nicest guy, but at the same time motivated you to be as hardworking as you could every single day. Um, yeah, obviously, may he rest in peace. But yeah, I think he was a huge part. Obviously, high school is a huge part in any athlete development, especially going on towards college. And he was a huge central part.
And then, speaking of development, are there any teachers, during your time at St. Francis that kind of made a lasting impact on you? Anyone you want to shout out?
Oh, how many years ago was that? Like 10. I just got an email or package from not a package, mail letter from them. Who am I thinking of? Mr. Avilar always was a good guy of mine. Obviously, Coach Gibbons, who was my social studies teacher, Mr. McNulty, um, Mr. O'Connor. He kicked my butt in math, as anyone may know. Mrs. Travers now, who I congratulations to her for. I think she just became the new principal. Um, but yeah, I had a lot of growing up at St. Francis to do and maturing, and they helped me pave that. They paved the way for me there.
And is there anything, that you still like you learned from there that you still use in your everyday life?
It's pretty cliche, but it's like the brotherhood aspect. I've brought that not only to Cal, but that's also a reason I love the sport of football. What type of friends and connections you make with, your guys and your brothers you'll call for life. That'll be your groomsmen. That'll be, you raising families around them, hopefully. So, um, yeah, definitely. I think having that type of brotherhood and, translating that to on the field and off the field has been huge.
Yeah, of course. And then kind of moving on to college, you had offers from Fresno State and Hawaii. What kind of made you choose Cal?
Um, I mean, I got the offer really late, so I was kind of just gonna go Mountain West probably. Um, I got the offer late, and made a visit there, and obviously going to St. Francis, like academics was a priority and huge in my family. My mom always instilled, trying to get the best education possible and all that. And it just made the most sense. It was not only one of the best academic institutions, but it was of the highest caliber football. Playing in the Pac-12 and Division One. So,
And then yeah, I heard you mention academics. Tell me a little bit more about what it was like being a student athlete.
um, I mean, it was a challenge, definitely, especially going to Berkeley. It's not an easy task to do. To go to not only to go to school there and get a degree from there with any type of challenging courses you may take, but being an athlete as well and devoting so much time into that. Um, but at the same time, it helps you become a better person, grow as a person, and get you prepped for what you're going to deal with in life. Eventually once you get a job. So, yeah, I mean, it was tough, but it was fun at the same time. Like going to a big school, walking, running into Memorial Stadium and like having all those fans cheer for you is like any feeling someone wants. So, um, yeah, I enjoyed all my time at Berkeley.
Yeah, and then this is something I asked all the guys I interview. What game should I watch, or everybody should watch to see what kind of player you are? Pretty much just like what's the best tape you have.
Um, I mean, this year I think I probably played the best and was most memorable was the big game against Stanford, keeping the axe again and winning it in Memorial with all of our fans there. Was probably one of the best games to be a part of. And go down to the locker room, have the axe, chant our fight song, and it's just good to good to hear, I
Yeah,
guess.
that sounds awesome. And then in terms of coverages, do you like to play, a little bit more deep, or do you like going down on the box for run support more?
Um, I mean, I think that's kind of hard. I mean, you kind of said it perfectly. If I had to pick any type of coverage that I'd play, it would probably be like middle post safety or like a, one high safety or, kind of being in the box and fitting on a run fit or coming down and being like a zone defender, whether it's like, you're playing the hook or buzzing out to the flat and just kind of reading the quarterback and reacting. Um, yeah, probably say that.
Yeah, speaking of one high safety, I know that's kind of where you played primarily in college, but now looking to the NFL, the NFL plays a lot of too high shell. Take away that deep pass, kind of leave the quarterback to make the read underneath. How do you feel that the league is kind of going to adapt further as the moves on?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think as the NFL has evolved over time, it's definitely turned into more of a pass-happy game. Offenses do a great job game planning, defense do a great job game planning. You find new schemes or concepts from teams every week. But the funny term is it's a copycat league, so you kind of find the same concepts stacked upon you most of the time. So having some sort of self study and making sure you know what you've been burned on or had some explosive plays against is always going to be good. But yeah, I mean, I think in general, wherever I play in the NFL, I hope to show my talents the best I can. Too high is also fun. Just being anywhere on the defense where I can bait the quarterback and just obviously read his eyes and just kind of make the decision before someone else is what I look for and what I enjoy and what I thrive in. So whether I'm at too high, one high, dropping out of zone, playing man, you know, um, I look forward to it.
Yeah. And then just looking at your peer stats, I noticed interception totals, three in back-to-back years. What's kind of clicked for you? Is it more the experience? Is it more just learning more about the game? Is it just watching film? What's kind of gone well?
Um, I mean, I think it's kind of been all of it. It's the time, the effort, the game planning, the film watching, the self study, the talking with your position coaches, buttoning up techniques or minuses that you had from previous games or years before. Um, but yeah, it's just kind of all that culminating into a pot or a meal as you could look at it, and it's just coming out the microwave like it's just kind of perfect for you. So um, yeah.
Yeah, and speaking of that, who's the toughest like quarterback or just general offense that you've had to defend your last 6 or so years?
Um, I mean, obviously, playing Caleb Williams this year, he's very talented. Bo Nix at Oregon was good. Michael Penix was good at Washington. I mean, the Pac-12 was kind of stacked this year. I'm not gonna lie, with quarterbacks. Going against Garbers every day in practice was good when I was younger and developing. UCLA quarterback was pretty good. Um, yeah, I think I'd probably say that. But I think this year, out of all I probably played safety the last 3 years. This is probably one of the better years. I mean, I can't say anything to like maybe a coach year. I only had 4 games.
Yeah, and then in terms of like mobile quarterbacks, does that kind of make you want to creep up a little bit more as a safety? Guys rolling out of the pocket, trying to run for it. What does that do when you're on defense and trying to like plan against them?
Right. I mean, it depends on what my coverage or assignment or technique is. Whether I'm an underneath defender and I need to pull the trigger once he starts escaping the pocket, or obviously if I'm like a deep high safety, I'm not going to go chase him until he's over the line of scrimmage. But yeah, I mean that just brings another element to an offense that you have to game plan for and prepare for. I think mobile quarterbacks bring another aspect and ability to the game that raises them up. So always stand on your toes. Whether you could have a pump fake, you could have him escaping the pocket well, but never breaking the line of scrimmage. So he's a different type of playmaker, things like that. So
Yeah. And then who are some of the guys that you're watching on tape right now, whether that be in the pros, whether that be other college games?
like my position or
Yeah, just like some safety film that you're watching, breaking down, trying to learn from.
right. I mean, I just love watching ball in general. Right now we're in the playoffs. Obviously, when I watch some tape, I like watching Justin Simmons, Quandre Diggs, Adrian Amos, Justin Jefferson. I watch Vikings a lot with Harrison Smith and then my teammate Cam Bynum there. I like watching the Chargers being at home, so having Derwin James and their safeties play. Taylor Rapp and the other guys at the Rams. I've been watching the 49ers obviously a lot being in the Bay, so Hufungus had a great year, so I've been watching a lot of his tape and what type of playmaker he is. Um, but yeah, just pick as many people as you can. Obviously in the league, so they have the ability and the talent, and just kind of learn where you can and use some of their skills.
Yeah, speaking of just like popular safeties, who would you say right now is your safety Mount Rushmore, like top four?
Ooh,
It's a hard one. I know you just mentioned like a ton of good safeties.
top four. Um, I mean, I gotta put like one of them. Obviously, is like a Troy Polamalu. He's just like a dog. Um, Second, I mean, like I would probably when I was younger, I used to watch a lot more film of like Eric Weddle. I would honestly put him up there because I used to like mentor, like he would kind of be like my mentor or who I'd watch the most film on. So if those are like two older guys, I'll pick like two new guys. Not new guys, but like maybe current. Uh, who would I pick? I'm not gonna lie. I think Hufunga is gonna be one of the best safeties in the league for some time. So I might have to put him. Um, Let me think. I'll probably put Quandre too. I'm not gonna lie. That's my fourth one. Quandre Dix from the Seahawks.
Yeah, those are some underrated guys right there for sure. I'm sure many people are not that familiar with them.
Right.
And then speaking of like guys you looked up to as a kid, are there any of your players, that are playing still like that you still looked up to? Like who was your favorite player growing up?
Well, I was like a basketball fan. I mean, football and basketball, but like I always idolized Kobe and watched him. Took a lot of his like mentality, work ethic, and all that, and tried to translate that into my own game. Um, I looked up to like my brother a lot. My older brother who went to St. Francis. Obviously he didn't play collegiate sports, but just the way he carried on into college and getting his doctorate in physical therapy and things like that just motivated me. And then, like I said, obviously, like safety specific, like Eric Weddle is what I looked at a lot. I watched a lot of Troy Polamalu, Brian Dawkins, Ed Reed, all those guys.
Yeah, and then in terms of quarterbacks, any quarterback in the league right now, who would you want to pick off the most?
I mean, honestly, any of them. I don't think I could like pick one of them. I mean, obviously, who like picking off Patrick Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady is one of those things that you could like say for the rest of your life to like your grandkids and stuff. So that would
Mm.
be like an easy answer. Um, but yeah, I mean, any pick of mine, I would be happy. Will be my memory, that's for sure.
I was hoping you say Chase.
I
Yeah.
mean, it could be Chase too. We'll see.
And then what were some of the ways you're prepping pre-draft now?
I mean, it's just going through the typical process. Training for the combine and the Senior Bowl and the pro day. Um, yeah, I mean, it just speed work and lifting and position work and board talk and just having mentors talk to you and just kind of learning the whole process and just fully diving into being a pro, I guess, without the student ed part.
And then what's some of the things that you're still trying to work on or improve right now? Whether that be, speed, cutting a little bit better, like what is
Yeah. I mean, for me, I mean, now we're in the off season, it's, buttoning up imperfections that I don't have in my technique, whether that's, my plant foot, my drive foot, just being as efficient as possible, excuse me. Um, obviously speed kills in the game. So, I wasn't born Usain Bolt, so always having to work towards that has been a priority and a premium of mine. Continuing to have loose hips, fast feet, good press coverage, good man coverage, good zone coverage, the whole nine. There's not probably one thing I could not focus on.
and then intelligence is, probably the biggest part of playing safety. How have you worked to kind of improve that?
I mean, currently, just trying to talk to as many pros or people that have played the game, and learn from them, ask them questions. Obviously, I have my own board talk and board, film study with my mentors and guys that I'm training with. So just going over my coverages and things at Cal that we did, and then talking about my film. So doing a little bit of self study, and then also kind of learning other positions or sending on other meetings, whether that's an alignment, thinking about understanding how alignment think, or going into a quarterback meeting or talking to some quarterbacks just to kind of get an idea of how their minds think.
Yeah. So then, you getting kind of into their head, which read they're going to, what way they're looking normally on certain pass protections.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And you mentioned the Senior Bowl. That's
Hmm.
pretty big. And I don't think many people were that aware of your talent until you were invited to the Senior Bowl. What does that mean for you to, even get an invite to the Senior Bowl?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a huge honor. First and foremost, I'm thankful for having the abilities to be nominated and qualify to go to this event. But it's just another game, obviously. But at the same time, the value in it and what it carries for. It's just a job. It's a big job interview, right? So, obviously you prep as much as you can for it, but you try to play loose and have fun, and meet the guys around you that you've never met before on other teams, and go to I've never been to Alabama, so going to a state I've never been. Um, but yeah, you just continue to carry that chip on my shoulder that I've kind of had my whole life, and I'm not going to be the guy with all the cameras around me. That's fine. I like being the quiet guy and the sleeper and looked over. So I'm just excited to perform on the highest level.
Yeah, and then have you looked at some of the rosters and just kind of like eyeing the competition almost?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, as you get closer, you start looking at the roster and seeing certain receivers and seeing if you can get some film on them and watch, some of their releases, what their tendencies are. The same with the quarterbacks and sometimes the running backs, just seeing obviously their tendencies, what they like to do, what little things you could study that can kind of help you make a decision or get a read on them a little faster.
And then what are you hoping to gain from that whole experience? I know it's a lot.
Right. I mean, a little bit of everything. Kind of, again, learn how the process goes. Being a professional, being in the NFL, um, but then at the same time, like just proving myself and proving to everyone else that like I'm here to, stay in this league a long time and I can play with everyone at the highest level and the highest caliber. So that's kind of just been my mindset. But at the same time, just being a sponge, like that's kind of how I carried myself all throughout my life, like just absorbing all information I can from people around me, whether that's the position coaches I'm being taught from, just the general coaches that are there, the speakers that come, or, people that you sit next to at the dinner table, like just learning as much as you can.
Yeah, and you mentioned just like people coming from everywhere. What
Hmm.
is it like being part of like a locker room where everyone's coming from different points of view, everyone's coming from different places? How does that kind of contribute to the overall experience of playing football?
Right. I mean, I think that's just kind of why you play it as well. Having that span across America, even internationally, like you get to meet unique people, and it's just another way to like network with people, honestly, and creating your circle and adding people that could be like your lifelong friends. You never know. I can meet my groomsmen in this locker room at the Senior Bowl, but you just get to meet different people and see how other cultures and communities and individuals interact with each other.
Yeah. And then just in terms of training, when you're working, training, there's got to be some days where you're just like, oh man, I just don't want to go train today. I'm tired, whatever. What keeps you going? What keeps you motivated?
Um, I don't know. I mean, honestly, I've been pretty good like since I've been starting training here in the new year. It's just kind of like that. I don't know. Some people have different types of motivations, but like for me, it's just like go mode all the time. I don't know. Like when I get home, I like to rest and lay in my bed and lay on the couch or watching TV or stretch or something. But when I'm there, it's just go mode. So I don't know. I like listening to music before I get there while we lift. But it's also just knowing like you got a couple more months here until you find out if like your dream is kind of getting met. So kind of having that last little push to work as hard as you can and all that. It's just kind of a motivating factor.
Yeah, and then in terms of like decompressing, what do you do after a long practice? Are you like a guy in the ice bath? Do you do like work with the athletic training staff? How do you decompress? You mentioned watching TV.
Yeah. During the season at Cal, like I like to contrast, so that would be like hot cold tub. Um, I'd obviously watch some film in there, like with my iPad. I'm a music guy, so if say I had a more frustrating practice or my mind was racing a little bit more after practice, I might put some more calming music on or like some jazz or something just to kind of like recenter me. I like to meditate sometimes. Um, if I need to step away from football, like obviously I like to rest or, just go outside and see nature and things like that, just to, again, re energize yourself and, prepare yourself as best as possible to, continue to grow in football.
Yeah, and then in terms of hobbies outside of football, what are some of those?
Um, I like food, so I'll go, try to find some nice restaurant, not nice restaurants, but like some nice food, some hole in the walls, in any city that I'm in. like I said, I like to listen to music a lot. So whether I'm in the car or walking down the street or doing anything, just having some music around is always good. Don't really play many video games, but I'll play some video games with like some teammates or anyone I'm training with, which is cool. Play like some FIFA or Madden. Um, like to rest, but I like to love football. I don't know. I like to watch sports too, NBA games, NFL games, obviously. Um, do some yoga, I like stretching. So I don't know, just some boring
Just a
stuff.
football guy, all
Yeah, I
through
don't
and
know, just
through.
a little boring guy.
Who is your Super Bowl pick this year then?
Oh, I don't really want to say it, but the 49ers look really good. Um, being from LA, it's kind of tough saying. Uh, 49ers look good, and then Chiefs, obviously.
Rematch.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I don't. Yeah, I'd probably say one of them too.
Yeah. And then in terms of NBA, who do you like for those guys?
I haven't watched like too much this year. And it's been hard watching with the Lakers like just struggling. Who would win this year? I mean, it's probably going to be like the Bucks, or I don't know who's coming out the West that's pretty good this year. Suns are having an up and down year. Warriors are struggling. Yeah, I could see if Kawhi comes back, I could look. You see the Clippers kind of making a run out of the West. Um, yeah, probably, but maybe the Bucks too. Or no, the Celtics. So I forgot about the Celtics. Celtics look pretty good.
Yeah, for sure. And then I know you mentioned like just teams sucking. When you're in the losing kind of atmosphere, how do you keep that mindset to just go, 1-0 every week?
You just kind of like have to turn the page. Obviously you got to peel the band-aid off sometimes and watch your tough film on Sunday and Monday, but you have to move on and take the next step and move on to the next play. It's the same thing in the middle of a game. If you start focusing on your mess up from the previous play, then you might give up a touchdown or another big play right after. So just not trying to stack up your mistakes and just trying to grow from it and make it a learning lesson that you can apply going forward.
And then just finishing it off today, what is something you've learned from playing football, whether that be from, a coach, teammate, anybody that you can apply, just off the field in your everyday life?
I mean, it kind of ties into the last answer I had, but you're gonna deal with adversity. You're gonna deal with knockdowns. You're gonna deal with giving up a touchdown in life. And it's gonna be like, how do you respond to those things, and how do you become, the best version of yourself. And then at the same time, like competitiveness, like whether you apply that to, you eating faster than your sibling, or I know that's weird, or like, you walking across the street more faster than someone else, or, you turning in the test faster than someone else, or you getting the better grade than someone else. Like just having that like competitiveness kind of helps you drive and motivate yourself to work hard throughout your life. So that's kind of like the big two things that I probably carry from football.
Yeah. And then that will do us for today. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
To be updated every time a new episode of the podcast drops, you can follow me at Football by Nico on Twitter. Thanks so much for listening.